So do you need to be an absolute genius to be a good trader on a sports market? That's what I'm going to discuss in this video.
Please like or dislike the video or leave a comment below. That will allow me to produce better videos and more of them in the future.
So if you want a quick answer and you don't want to watch the rest of this video, the answer is no. You don't need to be an absolute genius to be able to profit from an exchange market. And particularly within sports, there are a number of attributes that will contribute to a successful trader. Now, when I first started, I was completely manual, and over time, especially as I've got bigger, I've been looking for more and more and more ways of being able to do interesting things in the market. So naturally, I've progressed further and further up the scale and started doing some very clever things. But you'll be interested to know, I still sit there pretty much every day prodding away manually trading. And yes, I do some automated stuff and stuff like that, but I see it as part of the whole mix. You know, that's what gets me up to that next level and above and beyond what most people can be bothered to do. But one of the great things about trading as an entity in itself across all markets, not necessarily just sports markets, is in fact, you know, there's a big chunk of psychology in there, and also there's an element of understanding what you're looking at as well. So that's pretty important as well. One of the curious things that I've noticed is now and again when I've had a really complicated problem to try and deal with, I've sometimes wheeled in somebody who's much more academic than I. And the interesting thing is, when I was at school, I was pretty hopeless. I'm going to go in the loft and see if I can find some of my old school reports to shove up on this video, because you would absolutely fall about laughing if you read some of the comments on there. And maths was one of my worst subjects. I was just terrible at it. But that didn't stop me from having an interest in how I could use those things. But, you know, I'm a lightweight, really, when you speak to some of these intellectuals. But the interesting thing about bringing academics in to solve problems that I can't, because I still don't have a particularly high level of maths ability, is that what you find is that they, despite the fact that they're working on a problem for you related to the market, they just cannot execute. And it's a real oddity with the way a lot of academics and clever people think that actually stops them from doing it. They want to quantify things to such a degree that they're unable to act on it. And I've had people wheel through here. They've seen my P&Ls, they've seen me in action, they've seen what I can do. But they absolutely swear blind that the market's efficient and that it cannot be done. And it's like, well, you've just seen me make 500 quid and X amount over the course of the day. What's not true about that? But the funny thing is they can't do it. So there's actually, that tells you that there's several key aspects to trading. Yes, you need to understand the markets. You need to be able to trade. There's a bit of psychology in there, but you also need to understand, you know, what strategies and tactics you can use in the market as well. So it's an amalgam of all of those things. It's not one specific thing that will allow you to do it. Yes, there are people out there that trade just from spreadsheets. I know some of them. We've got some better end customers that just use spreadsheets to trade. Some people just use automation to trade. That works as well. But the market is a whole gamut of all of those different characters, and they all succeed in their own little way. So there is no preconception or requirement to be of a certain level of intelligence or not to be able to trade. The market absorbs all of that and all of those opinions and ideas and strategies into one great big amorphous collection of people. And in fact, one of the things that I learned, one of the big leaps for me over a number of years, was actually the psychology side of things. I actually figured out up here what was stopping me from executing well. I've mentioned it before in other videos, but when I tried trading short-term on financial markets before I did Betfair, and I was hopeless. I really was incredibly poor. And that's because my attitude to risk and my head was in the wrong place. And in fact, I've learnt to get rid of that. So that was actually one of the huge leaps that I made, was the ability to be a risk taker and a good risk taker as well. So yeah, bear that in mind. Trading is a number of different aspects. There's room for many people in different styles in the market. And there is no preconception about anything that you particularly need. Everybody tends to find their little niche. The only thing I would say is that it's a constant learning experience. So I'm aware of a large number of traders over the years that found a little niche in the market, never made an attempt to try and figure out what they were doing or how they could improve, and eventually, as the market shifted gently over time, it just put them out of business, and that continues to this day. So that's one of the things that makes me drive relentlessly forward, is I always want to be one step ahead. I don't want to be sat there thinking, oh, why is it all falling apart? I want to say, okay, that's changed, I understand that, and so I'm going to have to find another alternative strategy. That's why I put so much effort and energy into looking into what I do and using spreadsheets and stuff. I'm really, really interested in being able to describe exactly what I've done and why that worked and what I can do about it if it changes. That's one of the reasons I've been around for so long. So anyway, yeah, little video just to sort of say, there's no bar that you have to reach to get to the first stage on trading. Everybody has their own little niche within the market. They can exploit that very well, and there are a number of ways of doing it. And I'm sure that you'll be able to find one of those too.
Click here to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll get instant notification of new videos as they're released.